Hi. This is a little intermission between the last few readings that I did and the next couple. And I thought I would just go over a few things and um, that I've been meaning to talk about. I guess maybe I'll pull a few cards to just general energies for the week ahead and see what happens. Um, but I guess I'll just start with saying that I did mention in one of the readings, and I didn't want to confuse people. I talked about someone who, like, kind of vindictively uses the codes that I've developed, and um, I really don't want people to think that because these playlists are for people to utilize, and I have no problem with people using the different codes. I actually encourage it as long as something is the result is something that everyone can kind of benefit from and build upon and utilize, and I can use in these playlists if I need to, and as visual representations of the cards and things that I talk about, and symbolism and things like that. It actually helps with the connections and the divinatory meanings, and also for warnings and things like that. And so as long as it benefits everyone, and I'm not just throwing away my, I don't know, I just you can tell when something's vindictive, because if it's not helping everyone, it's not helping reinforcing what we've been talking about here, and doesn't allow for people to build upon the connections, then it's just for selfish means, and that's what I can't get behind. And if I could, I would block that person, but I can't. So anyways, I hope people understand that it really is just a personal type thing that I have an issue with. I actually know the person. I've always been very nice to them, and from the very beginning, even asked them if they want to join our art hopping group, art gallery hopping group, and just has always been a very cold person towards me, and I don't understand it, and I would just, I don't care what people do. I really, to each their own, and do what you want as long as it's not detrimental or harmful, undermining someone else's work or intentions and things like that. Because, especially when someone like myself is here pulling together all these ideas and connections in order to help others, to make others' lives easier, and to inspire, and to prevent things, and to give visuals, and all these, all the reasons, all the many, many layers, levels that I utilize videos for. So, it is to help others and not just myself. And so it doesn't make sense to me when someone would go out of their way to go into someone else's space and follow what they're doing, and then act as though they came up with those sorts of ideas without giving credit as to where they found them, because then it makes someone feel like they are a ghost in their own life, when others recognize them for those concepts and ideas when they were never theirs to begin with, and they originated here. So that really pisses me off, and it, to be honest, kind of pisses me off anyone who would encourage that sort of behavior also by working with them. You are the company you keep, and I'm not trying to come down on a moral sort of thing, but I've been kind of giving this person the benefit of the doubt for years, and it's just, I don't understand. And I would like to say to them that if they need help coming up with their own codes, and pulling from artistic projects and things that they are working on, I'd be happy to do that. Happy to help them develop their own sort of personal brand codes. because, I mean, there's an infinite amount of symbolisms and ideas and things to incorporate into one's work, so I don't really see why, unless you're here and wanting to be a part of this whole, big experiential project, and it isn't fair, like, give and take and all these kinds of things, why someone would want to be so inauthentic, like so unoriginal, just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe they're just lazy. I don't know. Or they're just, like I said, being vindictive and for no reason, because they deserve much worse from me, to be honest. So, and I'd also like to put to rest any rumors that they have spread about me in regards to, like, sexual relationships and things like that. And probably the most, like, I don't know, just I would never have an affair with someone. I believe in the sanctity of marriage and respecting those bonds and people's relationships, and I've only had like 1 or 2 long-term boyfriends. I just don't involve myself in things of that nature too much, despite, what some people might think or say. I'm pretty prude, I don't know. Not that it's really anyone's business, but I feel like it's kind of bullshit that someone would spread such false lies about me when I've never done anything to them. I mean, how jealous or insecure are you that you have to undermine someone else, keep someone else down for your silly little Instagram account? Like, I just don't get it, I think we should all be trying to lift people up and make the industry, especially like the fashion industry, which is what I'm normally talking about, like the best that it can be, filled with talented, good-natured people that want to see not only themselves but their colleagues and their companies and the entire industry as a whole thrive. Like, you can only do that when you hire people that actually know what they're doing and want to see others do well as well, and encourage the diversity of talents, but also keeping in mind that, like, what's the point of hiring someone that then just comes and looks at what I'm doing here and then reports back to their supervisor? You might as well just hire me. It's a waste of time and energy, and just doesn't make sense. Hire the people, or work with the people, collaborate with the people that have a unique point of view and a strong original work ethic and talent, and like actually went to school for what they're doing, and like things like that. It's just kind of like my North Node might say that I'm supposed to be done fighting the bloodsuckers and just relaxing, but like as long as someone is, causing damage to my reputation or name or something like that, I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm not going to just let them get away with it. Especially when no one else, like, I don't know exactly everything that's been spread or why. It just seems mean and unnecessary. And you just do you. Like, I really, like I said, I don't care what people do. It doesn't matter to me if your work sucks. Like, if you enjoy it, cool, great. But if the result is harming me or detracting from what I'm doing by, just acting as though it belongs to you, when the entire process took years and lots of thought and practice and testing and experimenting and personal experiences to bring into fruition, you don't say that it's yours. It's not. I mean, a lot of mindless, like, followers that don't know me any better will probably believe that it belongs to you, or, but that's the problem with social media. A bunch of mindless followers who are like attracted to bright colors and will follow anyone that has more than 100K people. Like, it's just silly. People don't think for themselves, and that's my main problem with this person. And otherwise, I really I'm usually glad when people, as long as it's not, it's a fine line. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm usually glad when people participate, more than glad, and I encourage it. But I also think people know what they're doing. They're not everyone, especially creatives, like, they're not idiots, like, at all. People know what they're doing when they're coming into the space and seeing that they're not utilizing necessarily the connections and the videos and things like that, but they're taking from the overall, like, concept of what I'm doing here. That kind of bothers me, because it's like, I don't know, like, why don't you let someone just have their thing? Why don't you just let someone grow, instead of, like, stunting that by claiming their ideas as your own? I mean, how much do I have to give? How much do I have to set up for people in order for them to just understand that what I'm doing is separate from what I'm pulling together for others? Like, you know what I mean? And it's obvious, it's very obvious, because everything that I talk about comes from personal experience that I then investigate and incorporate into my own life, and try to understand better through that, and express it in different ways, and usually is, developed over a long period of time. And it's obvious then when someone just, I guess, is too lazy to come up with something on their own. And so I really don't want to worry about it. I don't want to, like I said, I don't give a shit what that person does normally. But if they are going out of their way to be vindictive, and it's like, why don't you get a life, or come up with your own, and even more so, if you are just doing it to be vindictive, like, even more so, get a life. Like, it's silly. Like, just being vindictive, playing dress up, and taking selfies. I mean, like, I don't know. It just is annoying. And I think people need to have better, higher standards for what they follow and for who they work with and interact with, because, again, you are the company you keep. And someone who doesn't have a lot of talent, of course they're going to kiss ass. Like, of course they're going to, like, come off as, like, super, they have nothing else going for them. Like, they have to make people like them. Like, but if you actually have a leg to stand on, you don't have to kiss people's asses. You don't have to, like, live up to others' standards. You make your own. You make your own rules. You make your own codes and experiences and visions, basically. Like, you don't need to go, really, and take. And even if you do, then you should evolve it into something else, like, that is your own. I don't see why someone would want it to be. And like I said, whenever I have gotten an idea or something from someone, I try to, like, direct people to them, because I think they should have credit. And, as long as, it's especially, like, more personal, original type thoughts or ideas or personal experiences, like, I don't know, fashion especially is, like, it's always cyclical, and everything came from somewhere, and it's not, like, a really big deal. I think that trends are just, it's not so much about that, but it's when it's a personal jab that really offends me. And, well, not really offends me, I just think that person is, like, kind of a loser, and is fooling everyone. And, I mean, I don't know if they haven't realized who's watching these videos. Maybe they haven't turned on the news, or read any show reviews or anything, but like they just look stupid. I feel sorry for her, because everyone knows. So I don't know. Like I said, I'd be happy to help her develop her own style and codes if she needed to. So, yeah, I know she's watching, so offer stands. Anyways, I thought also I would. I had mentioned the alchemical cycle before, and I might try to just pull that together in one video. I don't know if I'm gonna, because there's a lot to cover, and I introduced it like about a month ago, and gave people the link for the Azoth ritual that talks about the different alchemical steps if you're interested. And you can go back and read that. But for those that aren't as adept to translating kind of esoteric things into creative outlet, I was going to go over just some general trends that I've seen that coincide with the different steps and operations and images, symbolisms, and how you might look for that. Because I think it is helpful and interesting, really interesting. I introduced it so that people could have a feel for it and see for themselves how that kind of comes into being, and how it is a very solid cycle that is recognizable once you know what to look for. And I want people to see if they could, spot that themselves and see how it applies to them. And now that there's been some time that passed, I thought I would go over it in more detail, but again, I might just save that for another video. I really want to just like condense it down. But one thing I was going to mention, because I had shared the different data graphs, and now Google has made some sort of data layer map that looks just like it, but so I'm glad that it's now a map app or whatever. But anyways, I think that it might be, I don't know, for those that are interested, interesting to know how I calculated things. And honestly, I'm so bad at math. I mean, I can count on my fingers or fractions and things like that for pattern making. But when it comes to physics, calculus, just maybe if I had had teachers that knew how to teach me, so it made sense to me. But it just never really sunk in. So for this equation, I don't know where it came from. I feel like I was channeling Tesla or something, because I thought I was done after the first step. Kind of like when you're doing a proof in geometry, which I was terrible at. I'm like, why do I have to prove this? It's a square, what do you want me to say? So that abstract sort of way of thinking was never, I don't know. So I don't know where this sort of came from. I mean, I did look up I don't know, just the different frequency and things like velocity and how to calculate those things, but I have no idea if this actually works. It worked for my purposes, but I don't know. It'd probably be only very few people. I think there's one designer that used to be a physicist or something, I forget his name, that would be able to understand how the overlap exists between the physics part of this and or data part of this and the fashion and the ideas and all that. So this may not make sense to anyone, and it may not even be correct, but I thought I would share just so people know that I actually did do the work and all that. So, and it was a 5-step thing, so I really don't know, and it came very easily. It's when, I don't know, I don't want to scare people by saying, channeling or something like that. It's not you, eyes roll back and, you're, comatose and you're just writing. It's just, something that wouldn't come as naturally or easily, or you don't know how you came up with it, just flows and it makes sense. And yeah, that's what happened. So anyways, I don't know if you can see this, and it's probably going to be backwards, yeah. But so yeah, the first step is needing to find the point of conjunction, the point of overlap, and I use E equals HF equation, which actually has a long story behind it, and maybe I'll tell at the end. So the operations, 1 through 7, divided by the cycles, 3 cycles, equals the frequency, 8 times H, which is the constant change. And then you have to, that gives you the energy, and you have to times it by 3 to magnify the number, so that it shows up on the graph, divided by 2 for point of conjunction. Then next, to find the weight in gold, which was just a way to sort of standardize it, like color standard kind of thing, to give it some sort of numerical value. You take the point of I don't know why point of conjunction times the operation. Then overall value to generate power and transfer conductivity, weight in gold times the amount, divided by the amount times you might have put it out there, divided by the number of overlaps recorded to demonstrate growth and expansion potential. Point of conjunction, the y-axis times 15 months, divided by 3-month intervals, 1 through 5, and the number 5 is regression analysis, point of conjunction divided by 9, by ordinary, least square, weight in gold, y-axis. So all those different things gave different numbers that I incorporated and different data points and all that. That is an interesting, it was when I was in, it was like one of my maybe last weeks in New York, and God, I was so depressed, and I was by the Hudson, and I just, it was one of those things where it's you can do everything right in your life, and then something hits you and just knocks you off your feet, and you just don't know what you could have done. Maybe you couldn't have done anything to stop it, or I don't know. It's just kind of one of those moments where I was questioning every decision I ever made, and had kind of lost faith in my ability to make decisions. So I was just standing there at the Hudson, and I was just wanting things to be sort of done. I don't know what that means, but I just wanted to just not deal. And actually got a text from some friends back here who I no longer am friends with, but that kind of helped me turn around and keep going. And I went for a long walk and just kind of wandered around Manhattan, because I was not Manhattan, or Chelsea. I was staying at a friend's place, and I just didn't really want to go back. I didn't, I felt nomadic. I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to I just wanted to be able to go home and be by myself. But I couldn't do that, so I just decided to wander. That's what they say in Australia, go for a wander. And since I was questioning all the decisions I've ever made, I decided maybe I'll just let fate take the reins, and I'll just go by the symbols and things that I had previously had been at a friend's place, had talked to her about. We'd done tarot reading, and it was weird. They all started to kind of show up, and I was just sort of following them, and it led me to I was on 8th Avenue and 14th, and I passed one that looked like this guy that was my freshman homecoming date. Had he grown up, and I swear it looked just like him. I even had to turn around. I'm sorry, is your name, whatever his name was? He was British, so it wasn't him. But it was his last night in New York. He was visiting, and we just started talking, and he was really nice, and it was just very, like, friendly, nothing like weird. And we just went to a bar down the street. Like, I love that about New York. You just like make friends randomly and like walk out your door, and you never know what's gonna happen. And he was so nice. And it turned out that he was a physics teacher, high school physics teacher or something. And the night just continued to be very weird. Like, all these things kept happening. Songs that would come on in the bar, and just very specific things. And it really kind of felt like this guy was like some sort of angel or something. Because it was just so odd. And he was saying like all the things that like I sort of needed to hear at the time. I don't know, it was just bizarre. And I was showing him, because we were talking about physics, and I was showing him a photo that's on my Instagram. You can see it's a still from Godard's Alphaville, and it's like a black and white neon sign that has equals mc squared and equals hf equation, and in neon. And he was like, this is your answer, this E equals hf, that applies more to what you're doing. And at the time I didn't really understand it. And then so fast forward a year later, and it just sort of popped to mind, and I looked into it a little bit more. But I mean, I still don't really know what I was doing. But again, then this kind of came out. And so it was just kind of a bizarre night. We like hugged goodbye, and he like went on his way, and it was just nice and friendly. It was like those kinds of instant friends that you can just never, you meet. And just how random is it that he was a physics teacher, and that's what I was really into at the time. So, and needed it in order to do that. So, otherwise I wouldn't have even like thought about that E equals HF, Planck's constant and all that. So, yeah, interesting. Weird night, sort of letting fate guide, letting the signs guide. I wouldn't recommend that all the time, but I do, I like the idea of signs. It's not so much that we believe in signs, but I think I've said this before, but we believe in the idea that someone who has, like road signs, for example, someone with a better understanding of the territory, put them there for you to direct you towards where it is you need to go. And so, I don't know, I think that kind of applies to the whole, like, national anthem thing, too. It's like we don't worship a flag. We stand for what the flag stands for. And I'm actually surprised no one used this argument. I mean, for me, I'm pretty neutral on with subjects, and, like, especially like that. And I wouldn't call myself unpatriotic. Both my grandfathers were in the Army, and God, my family even like came over in like the 1600s. So, and they live peacefully next to with Conestoga tribe. They even talk about in a book how their kids play together. So really, if anyone should be like having an opinion, I feel like it's me. Just kidding. But yeah, I'm surprised no one used the argument like, well, unless like everyone who has a problem with players kneeling, every single person is also standing. I don't think I've ever gone into a bar or any place that they would be playing like a game and seen people like stand for the national anthem, or at home, unless every person that has an issue with them kneeling like is standing at the pub, at the bar, at the sports, whatever, wherever you watch games at home. Then I don't really feel like people have a leg to stand on, and since you can't prove that, then I don't know, argument over. So, anyways, I thought I would pull a few cards for just the week ahead and maybe Halloween. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a separate Halloween video. I kind of feel like getting dressed up and doing doing a reading, the Fool just fell out. I realized that because I was talking about clueless a lot, and I realized that's the Fool, the Fool, clueless. And also, temperance is in, you can see, I don't know, I just think that it has a lot to do with that archetype too. Anyways, so for the highest and greatest good of all, and yeah, maybe for just the week ahead, I'll do one card. Keep it short. Monday through just the whole week, I guess. So for Monday, what do people need to know? Three of Wands. This is definitely came through as a yes. So you might have something going on Monday that you need a yes or no answer for, and this would maybe be a yes. But it also talks about correspondence and communication and short distance travel and waiting for your ship to come in, and it usually indicates some sort of success. Like, yes, you'll be hearing back from someone. And it's Wands, fire, so something having to do with ideas, creativity, or just very simply a yes. I find that there's a lot more overlap between the suits than most people think. So Monday, maybe making a phone call or something too. Maybe you can be expecting one, an important phone call or something Monday. I also think of like merchant trade and things like that. Okay, Tuesday. It's the Five of Pentacles. So moving ahead, moving forward, or some sort of change in direction, where you see yourself going, and how you're getting there. You can talk about feeling left out and just needing to find a place that you feel accepted and not missing opportunities as well. Like maybe don't miss that phone call. But yeah, usually this is considered like two homeless people walking past a church where they could go in and get a warm meal and that kind of thing. So it's recognizing that opportunity too. You don't have to necessarily be homeless. You can, it's manifest in any sort of way. So also think of like leaving a trail or following someone's footsteps or having a leg to stand on, catching up to someone. That came through a while ago, your future catching up to you, which again is a little bit of the reason why I took a break, and I know the videos are long, there's so many details I wanted to give people a chance to catch up. I also think I have like different filters and stained glass and just seeing things through different filters, and maybe that changing how you proceed. Maybe some sort of change or something happening outside. You can very literally talk about being outside going inside, inside going outside, just depending on how it came out. So it came out upright. So Tuesday. Wednesday. People need to know for Wednesday. Page of Wands. So, again, pages are messengers, usually. So again, some sort of message. Maybe of some sort of creative nature, fiery nature, or from a fire sign. Sometimes, a lot of times I think of this as Aries, because it is a page, and Aries is the first, it's the youngest. Someone with maybe a lot of ideas and just excitable, and that may be someone you're dealing with on Wednesday. Could be a child. but most of the time it's just messages, maybe from like a long distance but this means a lot of different things that I found, like just kind of holding something up in high regards, or feather in your cap, or just something good to look at. I have future, I'm going to blank on the name now, I'm so bad with names, at the page of wands there, as I found out this can mean, like, the lyrics are fuck them, you know, like, so it can mean that, like giving someone the middle finger. Yeah, that was, I don't know. It's interesting, that song, the lyrics, he says something about the bloody tears from her eyes, and I felt like that went back to, I can let you, you know, to the first playlist, but you can kind of see, it meant something to me because, you know, I've lost some people and things like that, so, yeah, and going along with this whole angel thing, they kind of come off to me in that video as like guardian angels. Maybe that sounds silly, but whatever. Yeah, so then I noticed, like, in the Gucci show, white glasses with bloody tears, and just like kind of, I don't know, people knew all the reasons I picked things, they'd probably change their minds, but because that just, I don't know if it was meant to be, like, if it was just a thing, or if it was meant to be a jab, I don't know. I feel like that's like a jab, but I just, you know, I don't understand people taking jabs at others, you know, heartaches and things like that, especially when it's been explained, you know, like, why, whatever, yeah, so maybe some sort of message, or you're dealing with a younger personality, younger fire sign on Wednesday. Okay, Thursday. Too many cards, one card for Thursday. King of Swords. So, an air sign, Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini, or just someone with that energy that you might be dealing with. Maybe you'll be having to do a lot of writing or thinking Thursday. Something's going to use a lot of brain power. You could also just be telling the truth or being very fair on Thursday, some sort of, or a person that you're dealing with of the air quality. What do I have there? I don't remember, so many videos. Anyways, sometimes I feel like the people cards are not as informative. It's like, it could also mean like information. Jupiter, expansion. Maybe expansion in some way, shape, or form on Thursday is going to take place or needs to happen. I also think that maybe as an overlap with this, especially since fire usually talks about like long distance, ninth house. Looks like he's coming from Egypt, like expansion of your, in any way. Whether you want to or not, it might have something to do with that. Expanding your mind to expanding what you think. You just might be dealing with someone who's kind of cross on Thursday too. Just so you know. Just want to say head in the clouds too. It might be like one of those days you're just needing to think outside the box. And you know what's been coming up a lot is, I don't know, it's just popped in my mind, but also it has to do with the pointing at you because I'm pointing at my screen. The alchemical cycle, and I think it's Operation 2 or 3, and it talks about, or maybe it's 1, I don't remember, it was the first few, and it talks about iron, and Fe has come through a lot lately in the last few months, just, and that, I think it means iron, and that also reminded me of Vehu, which is a rune, and its main meaning is luck, and then this oftentimes represents Jupiter, luck, so maybe there is just something having to do with luck and some sort of like ironclad, like some sort of truth-telling, some sort of legal contracts, anything that you might need to consult someone with. Usually this person is pretty fair-minded and all of that, but it can go both ways, so it could be you or someone you're dealing with. Let's see what else for Friday. Page of Pentacles. So kind of the same with Page of Wands. Kind of feel like this person's in between them. I don't know. So it could just be a lot of communication, especially with the 2 pages, messengers, and I think that came up for the last reading. A lot of talking back and forth. Or some sort of like nugget of wisdom, maybe, that you can take away from talking to this person. Usually this comes through as look at something, or something, again, that you kind of, I don't know, I chose the video that I have there more for the colors and just, I don't know, the younger sort of needing to just, I don't know, express yourself or something instead. But yeah, it's Earth, so it has, again, something to do with your material reality, and it's very practical, maybe, too. Pragmatic. This comes through whenever I talk about Tesla. I also think of John Dewey sometimes with this. I don't know, just because I study a lot of his philosophy, and just like his nervous habit, I usually like to shuffle cards when I'm doing things, and not a nervous habit, I just like to do something with my hands, and yeah, kind of see what the cards react to as I'm reading, and this will come through or pop out whenever, I talk about John Dewey, philosophy, Tesla, along with the Tower. So again, maybe some sort of nugget of wisdom that you are taking away from a conversation, or again, maybe there's a mediator or something, and it carries over from these last few days. Sometimes I think of this as like an offer, or like offering something up to something, like, some sort of piece of advice or something that you could potentially utilize. maybe just having to put up some money for something on Friday, small amount or something like that. So again, maybe being pragmatic and not like overspending or something like that makes you feel like you can't do what you want to do on Friday. Let's see, Saturday. People need to know for Saturday. Nine of Swords. It's been up all night, so maybe you're just going to be out all night. Usually, again, it levels and different layers of meanings, I think, too. Maybe just have a whole long list of things to do on Saturday and you're worried about getting them all done or something like that. But also I think of like reading between the lines, looking something up. Also, these two things, maybe there'll be something that comes from looking something up that, just depending on your situation, it may mean like no worries, or something that just kind of, you're going over in your head over and over again, and you can't really like figure out a solution. That's usually what it talks about. Also notice the quilt, all the signs. I think I mentioned that night that I went to, I was driving and I like ran over a possum and didn't have my lights on. I was going to a movie, and then after that, with friends, we were hanging out. I was explaining some things, or like talking about how just a bunch of different zodiac signs have been coming through a lot, and just been noticing all these like synchronicities and things. And I mentioned the signs that have been popping up all the time, and for me, I mean, one was Sagittarius, so that kind of makes sense, but then Virgo is the other. And just as I mentioned that, I looked down because I'm standing, we were all hanging out in his room or something, and I looked down, I was like standing against the bed, and like he had a quilt just like this that had, and I was standing right in front of the Sagittarius and Virgo signs, or it was actually written out. It was just like, all these like weird little synchronicities happen to me all the time. This will also be a headache. Maybe you're hungover on Saturday. Maybe you spent too much money on drinks Friday and you are hungover on Saturday. Maybe avoid that if you want. Also 9, the end of a cycle, so maybe something is coming to some sort of closure, ending for Saturday, regarding thoughts and how you see things, how you look at things, your perspective. Maybe you're just been brainstorming, and Saturday you finally come to some sort of understanding, or just like a, oh my god, like kind of, I was thinking, duh, like, with this card. So, this also comes through for me whenever I've like had coffee way too late at night and then I'm going to be up till like 4 in the morning, so just whatever it means to you. 9's very like, maybe you're trying to finish something up too. Let's see, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday for people in general. This is the 7 of Pentacles. So again, this came up for another reading. Looking something over, patience, watching something, waiting for the time to, he looks like a gardener, harvest something that you've been putting time and effort into. Patience, 7 months, 7 hours, something having to do with earth. Can just very literally mean gardening, but I also note to mean like something that puzzles you, something that you just can't really seem to figure out no matter how much you look it over, and you can be wondering if you're wasting your time, that kind of thing. But 7 is also a very spiritual number, so on Sunday, some people may be going to like church or something. gardening. That's why I had a DJ Snake there. I think it's the Alchemical is like 6. That's more of like the Return to Eden, but sometimes I just work with what I can find. So, I think it's supposed to be in shadow, but it looks like it's wearing 2 different shoes. So I say maybe just taking some time to ponder something, I guess. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah, it can be sometimes I think like hovering or overbearing, or it's just like, waiting for the water to boil kind of thing. Like, maybe you need to stop waiting around and just take action, do something. Do I have there? Oh, free falling, just because, it looks like she's hanging out in a garden, just very, like, contemplative. And it also follows, like, a party scene before it was Dolce & Gabbana's pasta. So both the situations, I kind of felt like free falling. She looks like she's like, oh my God, why did I eat so much? Or I'm hungover kind of thing. So whether or not that was the meaning of the song, just kind of what made sense to me. So yeah, just looking something over, maybe. Not overworking something too, like maybe you're working on your own personal projects or something on Sunday, and it's like saying not to overwork something. So let's see if there's any further messages that want to come through. A lot of these came up for the, I think, water signs. Sometimes it's very well, it just means rain. Fog, haziness, hypnotized, being unclear about something, having to pick from the options. Often associate this with like Dazed. So then Dazed magazine, like you're a little bit dazed or phased by something, like Dazed and Confused would be a perfect card, for this card. Maybe just not really knowing what's right for you, what applies to you. And I think just through like trial and error, sometimes I feel like this is that. That's what this means too, trial and error, like experimentation. Crops field, like can't predict the weather. All how a crop. I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but like I assume you can't predict how your crops are going to do all the time. It's like trial and error to see when the best time is, to place, time to plant, things like that. So, yeah. So, especially with this like tarot and divination kind of thing, you have to, give it some time to see how the different messages and specifics and details like really do apply to you specifically, and help you to know what to choose, especially in general messages. This also came through. So this is the 2 of Pentacles. It's like how or why, or it's between 2 things, or sort of situation, or juggling finances, connection. What's the connection? Yeah. So I also think of like 2 sides of the same coin, or that kind of thing. So finding balance. 2s are usually having to do with some sort of balance or choice. So you're just kind of weighing your options, kind of like looks like that, like some sort of like scale, like hypothetical scale of ways of looking at something, like weighing your options, wondering, balancing act, maybe again, just like a balancing act, all of this trying to figure out how it applies to you or what to do about a certain situation. Or like some sort of opposites, fusion, chemistry, things going together, connecting. Point of conjunction, that's what I associate with, like the point of conjunction of two things, two opposites, two sides. Maybe you have a story, two sides to the story. If anyone questions my, like, from everything I've said, like, I've left a trail. I've left a trail. All you have to do is compare dates and word usage and everything. Facts speak for themselves. So, timelines and all that. Plus, like, I don't really know anyone. Like, I don't know. If there's any, I don't mean to just relate it to myself, but that's sort of been on my mind too, and just feeling like maybe people don't believe me. Maybe you feel that way as well. There's just a little bit of, like, I don't know, you're just wondering, like, how things are being perceived and how things happen. Like, I think of also, like, word of mouth, just kind of wondering what the connection is, what, how something applies to you, or wondering about the, I want to say, like, feasibility of something, or again, like someone's truth, or I don't know, maybe you're seeing both sides of a situation, but I mean, it's one of those things where I just, like, me personally in these situations that I've been talking about, like, I just, I don't even really like to talk about them, but if anyone actually asks me my opinion or what happened, or, and I was talking to someone specific, or, one-on-one, I would have endless details to give to prove my point. There's no question at all of who's right in the situation. I can just tell you that. And so there's no excuse for cruelty or for someone taking advantage of someone else's generosity, work, help, good nature, There was one other thing I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was. It just popped in my mind right before I said that last sentence, and I was like, I'll go back to it. But like up and down waves, so maybe trying to find some sort of balance, again, your footing amidst sort of waves of emotion, or oh my gosh, it's been really bothering me now. What was it? Temperance is on the bottom. Night and day, or just two different things. I think of, like, how talked about how everything was like fusion in a way here, chemistry, combining of two different things. I think Alessandra Michelle like that. Anyways, oh my gosh, I really want to know. It's really gonna bother me. Maybe I'll pull a few more cards just to see if it comes back to me, and if there's anything else people need to know. What was it? these readings, I think. Queen of Cups. Focus. These readings. Queen of Cups, leaving a trace. A trail. Leaving something behind. Oh, I think I did want to say is like, I would be doing these readings more often. It's not so much that they take a lot out of me, but it's more the repercussions, but yeah, I guess the trail, or like what implications are, maybe consequences, all these wrong words, but I just, I never know. I don't know who is exactly watching these unless I, get a direct sort of message. But when it comes to someone I don't know, like there's no way I could really, I don't know how to explain. I just, a lot of times the songs and the dates and things like that, like the Ten of Swords, match up perfectly with events. Like it's October 2nd and or October 3rd here in my time. I even flipped to that page in one of the books, October 3rd, that the Las Vegas massacre happened, and that's the publishing date of the Ten of Swords video, and the other Ten of Swords video is Run for Cover. Like it all kind of adds up as warnings, or warnings are my intention, at least, for to see if for you if they trigger anything, some sort of, if you have any information that like that reminds you of something, for prevention, things like that. But I also don't want to be inspiring bad behavior or anything like that. At the end of the day, I don't have control over what goes into the music videos and when they're published, so it's and most of the time I don't know the context or all the reasons why, layers, reasons, levels why I chose something. Usually it's something pretty small, like one line in a song, or the visuals, or I just feel like the mood kind of coincides or works well with the card meaning. But there are crazy people out there. I don't want to ever like inspire somehow through what I do here, any sort of harmful actions by people. So, and not that I think that I'm responsible. I just, you never know. Things happen so often like that, whether good or bad. It gets very confusing. Are you predicting it, or people watching, or is it coincidence? It just happens so much to me, and probably times like 20 from what people actually even catch on to and watch here. And that's what takes a lot out of me. Just registering things and reflecting on events that happen and seeing how they were predicted, so that I can better forecast things out and know how things will come through. Like now I know when the Ten of Swords comes through, it's not a good card. But for me personally, like, it's come through when I'm just like the end of the night, you know what I mean? Like, so there's different levels of, different levels of critical, importance, and it's going to apply in so many different ways. That's the point of tarot, all the different symbolism and numbers and meanings, and upright and reverse has so many different meanings. So I try to take all that into consideration and figure out like what comes through in the general readings and how it really does end up in politics or current events or whatever, and so I can better navigate these readings. But that's what really kind of exhausts me, keeping up with all that and like trying to review, and then just the heartache of like seeing some of these horrible things that happen and just not wanting to be, don't kill the messenger kind of thing. Like, I don't want to, our minds are so powerful too. Even just thinking some sort of negative thought, I don't want to put that into people's minds either. That so I also try to be as positive as possible, because I don't want to, like I said, like put that into someone's mind that something negative is going to happen, because then sometimes we make those things happen, or we're more aware, we're looking for it. So it's a little bit difficult for me, and that's why I do the videos too. These are out there for everyone to see. It's just more so the order and the connections that I put them together, and the reason I put them together. So that is important to pay attention to. But the Las Vegas, even in the King of Wands video, I think he's in Las Vegas, and 2 buildings there, gold buildings. The tower, Gwen Stefani video I had there, it was gold tower building, just trying to escape. Just, some of these are more minor connections, and other times it's like down to the date and the cards that came through for that week. One of those remix videos for October 3rd. And I looked at the clock right at the time that they said that it happened. I remember noticing the time. So it was like 2:05 here. So yeah, it was October 3rd technically, my time. But it's just hard to know, especially since I don't have all the information, and I wish that like people that want questions answered like would ask me directly, because then it'd be so much easier for me, because I don't always know which messages or topics or things to then follow up on or extrapolate on. Like someone would be like, that's what more about that, like what is you could pull more cards or something, if that triggered something. But again, this is general, and I just try to keep it pretty positive. But time is interesting, timing. When I did the last reading, asking why, what was that guy's intention, and I wasn't really getting a strong answer. I mean, I feel like it'd be really hard to crawl into that guy's mindset, or you'd even want to, but at the time when I did that reading, the timeline for that night wasn't even correct. But the 6 minutes, 6 minutes difference, and that did come through, 6 of Cups. So that had to be right before you could really, proceed. Like there's an order. So sometimes you don't understand why things aren't like coming through or making total sense, but there's a different reason, something you haven't even considered, or that has to be figured out first before you can proceed and get more answers. So anyways, I just want to encourage people to reach out to me if they want personal readings or follow-up information or something like that, because it's a lot easier for me to talk to someone directly and try to sort of vet them too, you know what I mean? Like, and all that, instead of just talking to whomever's watching this and, you know, telling my life story. So, the Hermit and the Knight of Wands again. This is what I think of like as fashion snooping. Lighting the way, one step at a time. Not rushing into something. So yeah, steps, taking it one step at a time. Knowing the right questions to ask. Seeking the answers, seeking the truth. Looking internally also for the right answers. Again, it's a 9 and it's very spiritual card. It's otherworldly, actually. This comes through for otherworldly type beings. But it also represents Jesus sometimes. It's just a very, like, you know, spiritual sort of like internal reflective card. Or can just very well mean being a hermit and staying inside and like working on whatever it is you're doing, just needing to get out and like do something. This in conjunction with the Fool can mean like the Fool's journey. And the Knight of Wands fell out over there. And often, at least recently, has been coming through a lot as like where you come from, where you're coming from, maybe on a internal level, or like actually physically where you're coming from, or your genealogy, that kind of thing. So maybe looking into something like that, and it's seeking answers, seeking the truth, and he's following the star, the number 17, the star. It's in his lantern. So again, it's your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. It's looking for guidance, looking for help. From, you know, your higher self, whatever it is that you believe in, and lighting the way, lighting the path. And even though you can't see everything going on, there's this one little star to illuminate one step at a time. So again, it's just taking baby steps, one step at a time, step by step. So, there's anything else. And just some other things that have been coming through, like the Six of Wands, Six of Swords means go with the flow or the long haul. Just so many different meanings. I could be here all day explaining them, translating things for you, and it's also one of the reasons why I, little bits at a time, give these little pieces of information, because there's so much, and it's hard to remember when I'm doing these readings, like every single meaning. So I hope that if any of these translations that I give resonate with you or make sense to you, stick with you, that even if I don't mention them, you're able to recall those meanings in whichever way they apply to you. So anyways, I hope that this was informative, helpful, or just a little bit of guidance, information, and that you enjoyed what I had to say. And yeah, I will be doing the next Air and Fire Love Tarot readings. And again, I know a lot of different kinds of messages come through, and when I'm doing that, especially like the love readings, I really am just trying to focus on, it's maybe one of the only types of readings that I don't have like all these like layers of intentions with. So it really is just I guess whatever you make of it. But I was watching some of them back, and I was just I don't know. I might redo the Earth readings. I wasn't really happy with it. So just keep an eye out. And let me know if, yeah, again, if you have any questions or want to see something specific or whatever. Feedback's always great. And I'm always looking for ways to make this more applicable or personal or interesting. So feedback is welcome, positive feedback, and otherwise, I hope that you have a great week and stay tuned. Bye.